everyone. This is Rachel again, and welcome to the New Wave Youth Podcast. This is where we discuss what dilemmas and issues that the young adults are facing in today's era. And without further ado, I'm going to ask my guests to introduce themselves. So, go ahead.
This is Daniel.
Vanessa.
Chelsea.
Welcome, you guys, and thank you so much for coming to today's episode. Today's topic will be about gender stereotypes. So, our first question is, what are some experiences you have where you have seen gender stereotypes? In the sense that you've seen people say, oh, a woman can't do this, or only men can do this. Can you think of a scenario? I know for me, I've seen people literally, or males tell me like, oh, you know, girls shouldn't pick up heavy stuff, like they can't do that, they're weak. So, you know, only men can do that. So let the girl step aside and let like the man do the manly stuff. That's just, you know, a little example that I've experienced. Any examples you guys can attest to or even agree?
I definitely agree to that. I know many instances. And, you know, I'm a pretty strong girl. Yeah, I'm a pretty strong girl. And I remember, like, I had to, like, carry, like, a table or something. All right. And then, like, one of my uncles was like, no. Don't do that. They went to go call one of the guys. I was like, nah, like, it's not even that heavy. Like, what are you talking about? So sometimes I kind of get a little, and, you know, because, like, you know, let's say you as an individual in the moment, you're in a rush, you're trying to just get it done and over with. Like, why do I not have to wait for someone to come and do all of that? On top of that, I've learned that I'm basically, because it's just me and my sister and then obviously our dad, but it's obviously more females than male in our household. So if my dad's not there, there's things that I'm gonna have to do, you know? So that has also now, you know, become a different avenue for me where I have to kind of, you know, step up as quote unquote a man when I need to do certain things, whether, for example, like the toilet is clogged or like, you know, just or like throwing out the garbage. I think that's the thing down in like America more where like, you know, the man does like throwing out the garbage while the woman does kind of like the house chores or whatever. I mean, I'm not married, so I can't necessarily attest to that. But obviously there are certain things looking at, you know, like my own household and other people's households where like you'll see that gender roles basically being played in. So yeah.
Okay, Daniel.
So yeah, I can see where Chelsea's coming from. That how we grow up, we're taught to do things that's like specific to our gender, and yeah, it's been a part of each and every one of our lives. But I also think that, for example, Chelsea said, you know how you can do like the things if a man is not there, you can do them yourself. I think it's important that like each and every one of us knows how to do things like that. For example, when I was younger, after we moved back to Ghana from Serbia, my parents took us to boarding school. So we were there for 4 years, and we had to do things like in the boys' dorm. There's no girl to do things that traditionally a girl would do. And in the girls' dorm, there's no boy there to do things that traditionally a boy would do. So we had to learn how to do, like when I got there, it's when I learned how to sweep with like a little broom. My sister learned how to weed because the boys wouldn't go over to the girls' dorm to weed the grass for them. They had to weed on their own. We had to learn how to clean bathrooms, toilets, things like that. And it was a good experience, I think, for me.
That's good. All right, Vanessa.
I think for me, at least an experience as at an earlier age, or even just when I was a teacher for a couple of months, was, you know, girls play with dolls and then boys play with trucks. I think that's definitely like a huge stereotype, because what if a girl wants to play with a truck or a boy wants to play with dolls or whatever, even just playing with action figures. Like, you know, I think that was just a huge thing. But as a teacher, like, you can't stop them from playing with certain toys, so you just let them play with whatever they want. But sometimes you hear those comments that, no, you're supposed to play with a doll, or no, you should go play with a truck. Like, no, if one of my students was a boy and he wanted to play with the shopping cart, like, we let him play with it, like, we didn't be like, no, go to the other side and build blocks. Like, we didn't stop them. So that's definitely an example of like where I've heard of like gender stereotype.
Okay. Daniel, I have a question for you. When you hear the saying, men should not cry, how do you feel about that? I'll let everyone else too, but I want to start with Daniel. How do you feel about that statement?
Well, personally, I don't like it.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I heard that from a lot of my uncles because I cried a lot growing up. I was like a crybaby, quote unquote. I used to cry about everything. My toy got broken, I cry about it. I can't find my book, I cry about it. So I used to hear about it a lot, like beme and soup. But I understand where they come from because, like, when you cry, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't make anything better. But at the same time, when you tell someone you can't cry, that's like, it's part of you as a person. It's an emotion you have to experience. So I don't think it's right you tell someone that they can't cry. Maybe help them find a solution instead of telling them they shouldn't cry and just walking away. Man, that's how I feel about that.
So when they say like, okay, let's say like your sister. Let's say like your sister can cry, but you can't cry. How do you feel about that?
I think it's cheating in a way because it's not basically telling me that I can't experience certain things because I'm a man and she can't because she's a woman.
Okay, Vanessa?
So I've definitely heard this statement a lot, and I do not like it. Just like Daniel, I do not like it because I have a friend, and his father, when he was young, told him that, men don't cry. And because of that, he literally doesn't cry. So in the instance where a family member died, like, he wouldn't shed tears. So I'm like, no, you got to let it out. He's like, no, my father said this. And I'm just like, you don't even have a relationship with this man anymore. And you still like, and you could see that just like those statements that men are supposed to do certain things have affected the way he lives. And I'm just like, oh, I wish like parents wouldn't do that. Like, like, men are allowed to cry. I feel like in the sense where I do feel like crying does help out sometimes. So I'm like, if you don't cry, are you just gonna be angry? Like, another emotion's gonna be like come out and worse, but I feel like crying does help. So I feel like no matter if you're a man or a woman, like, you should be allowed to shed some tears, and when you're hiding, like, no one needs to see it. But yeah, so that's one thing I don't like that statement at all.
Literally, when you were making that statement, what came to my mind is there's power in the tongue. Because the person that you were just talking about, you said the uncle, or was it the father?
No, the father.
The father told him that. And because of that, that's really shaped the way he's like views stuff. So
it's bad.
Yeah, gotta be careful what you tell your children, people. Yeah. Chelsea.
So if we break down, so this is obviously a term that's like coined by Africans, Ghanaians, whatever you name it. And so looking back then, this is our forefathers, our great grandparents and all that good stuff that have made this statement. And obviously gender stereotypes have been brought in so much in today's world. When you look back then, those roles were so specific where, a woman knew her place and a man knew her place. And so in that context of back then, I understand, because we're looking at the man as the head of the home, so at least back then they look at that as weak, a man crying, it's, the man doesn't have any emotional stability. That's how it looks like, and I can get that from that point of view. Now we're now in America, we're now looking at this 21st century and, mental health is being raised. What's it called? More attention's being put on, just like the human itself, and so today our boys, what's it called? Like, it's okay for that, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think it also depends in the certain situations, you know. Obviously, even just looking biologically at a female and a male, we deal with so much more hormones than a man does, you know. So, you know, it would look really weird if I'm over here crying crazy, right? And obviously I'm looking support from like my fellow brother or whatever, or even I think more specifically my like future husband or whatever. And this guy's also crying too. Now you're right. This doesn't solve anything because now we're both crying and we're trying to solve the situation. But that's where, you know, and I think depending on your relationship, like there are women who also really don't cry, who don't show any emotion. Yeah. You know? So like there's that balance within the relationship where you'll have a woman who can be that, I guess, emotionally stable individual while, you know, the man is the crier. I don't know though. I think in certain retrospects, like if someone died, like your mom died, I'm expecting you to cry. Yeah. You know, like, and that's normal to us in our generation. Obviously for them, it's like, this is an abomination. What are you doing? Like, wipe your tears. Don't even try, you know? So that's, I'm a little, like, I get it, you know, back then. And even to this day, I still get it a little bit because there are situations where I don't really expect my husband to cry. I'm going to expect you to be a man and, you know, hold the fort down. But it's okay to cry as well, you know. Okay. I balance.
I guess if your man is quote unquote too sensitive, like a lot of people don't like that. Like a lot of women do not like if a man is sensitive. Like it just deters them. So I can totally understand why you say that.
My next question is, do you feel like New York City has like taught you to be tough in the sense of doing things on your own, just to be more masculine? And then as you get older, everybody's like, well, you have to become more feminine, you know, dress up this way, behave like a woman so like the man can do, like your husband can do, I don't know, like all these things. But my question is, do you feel like New York City has toughened you up? I'll start with Chelsea.
Yeah, I think the environment in which I grew up in, going to a public school, I mean, just in my immediate family, I am the first child and I am a girl, and then there is my sister. So there's no, like, I don't have like a big brother, you know. My dad's obviously there, but like my dad can't go to school with me. Like my dad can't come beat somebody for me, you know. So I think in certain degrees, New York is crazy as well. So you as a woman, you know, you're fending for your livelihood as a woman, but you also don't want anybody to disrespect you in any way, shape, or form. So you end up having to put on this mask. I mean, let me not say mask, but you have to also put on this other persona of, you know, like, you can't take advantage of me. You know, you can't take advantage of me. And so, like, you know how, like, people be like, oh, like, that girl has, like, a, I don't know how to say it in like the best way English ever, but like she has a very attitude face, like straight face, all, resting, you know, face. Yeah, that was resting face. That was me, you know, and it wasn't like, you know, like it's not like, you know, it was like what I wanted, but in order to be respected, in order to, you know, move about New York and be able to get home safely, and, you know, you had to do it, you know? And so, of course, you know, that put a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, I think there was a bit of, and even to this day, I see how that affects, like, my relationship with people, especially, like, the male side. Okay. I think I've become a little more independent because of that. So, like, for example, if, like, we're gonna carry things, like, I'm not looking for nobody's mans to come. I'm picking it up. We going, like, we gotta go, boom, boom. Or even, like, just, like, the way I, like, I'll be like, oh, like, I'll beat you up. Like, you know, like, it's just these type of things that, you know, like, because of where I went to school at, you know, around 161, like, it's the ghetto. It's rough, you know, so these things, I feel like, in a way, definitely shape. I mean, being from New York, you have to be tough. You can't just let anybody walk over you. Yep. So, yeah, that's my opinion, at least.
Vanessa?
I think New York does make you tougher because you definitely have to learn to protect yourself and protect the people around you. So just in case somebody comes, just like Chelsea comes, like, you know, you got to fight them. Like, it was a point where I wanted to, like, learn karate and all these stuff. So, like, if something happens, I could protect myself, or I could protect someone around me. So, yeah, I definitely think New York does make you tough. Like, it really does.
I totally agree with both of you. I have that same experience. I remember even walking to the grocery store and a man just like came up to me and was like, "Girl, you need a smile." And I was just like, it didn't really click into my mind that I'm here walking with like a resting face. Like, this is something that I normally do. This is how I get to point A to point B. It lets you know, don't come and step up to me or we gonna fight. And I've realized that when I go into different environments, like I travel to somewhere and I see, like I'm here arguing with another male about should I pick up the luggage or he should let his friend pick, like, simple stuff like that. Whereas like, I got it. Like, why you need to come and help me? Like, no, like let this gentleman be and now I'm feeling so uncomfortable because I'm like, in New York, we don't do that. Like, just get your stuff and go. You're not gonna see what man is gonna come and fly and come pick your no one's gonna do that. But yeah, I totally understand what you mean.